Hi guys, welcome back to lesson 5 of our ecosystems topic here on our Sedge Hill Geography channel. I hope you're all well. So let's get straight on with it. Today's lesson is about rainforest adaptation and specifically how plants and animals have adapted to survive in tropical rainforests. So can you please write that title down? All right, you all know this by now, guys, so it's due in on Thursday by 12 p.m. Please upload it to Teams, but if you can't, email your teacher. Please try and get it in on time. You've been doing really well with handing in your work, so well done. Okay, here are your key terms, so write these down as we go and remember to pause the video. The first word is adaptation. So this word is the process of change by which an organism or species becomes better suited to its environment. So how plants and animals have changed to survive in that place. Flora is not the butter that we get from the supermarkets. It's actually what is known as all plant life in a particular region or time. So the flora that we get at the coastline, in the tropical rainforests, the different types of plants that you find there. Fauna is all of the animal life that you find in that area. So what sort of animals do you find in the tropical rainforest? Okay, so here we go, guys. Here is the quiz. I'm going to read them out to you, but remember just to write the answer. Here we go. Name 2 decomposers. So if you remember from last lesson, the nutrient cycle of how things passed around, how nutrients are passed around. If you think to that point where the nutrients and the litter is decomposed, what breaks that down? What is the name given to large, wide base of rainforest trees? Are root systems shallow or deep in a rainforest? What is the name given to dead leaves and twigs that fall to the forest floor? I may have just said that earlier on. Which biome is found on or around the equator? Which biome has more total rainfall each year? Is it a tundra or a deciduous woodland? And 7, which biome has a greater annual temperature range? Is it a rainforest or a hot desert? Okay, write down your answers. Okay, excellent, guys. Get your green pens out and let's go through the answers. Here they are. Okay, excellent. All right, so have a look at this image in front of you. You can see here is an image of the understory layer of a rainforest. So think back to a couple of lessons ago when we looked at the rainforest structure. I want you now to describe the vegetation in this figure. So vegetation is another word for plants. So how would you describe it? Think of everything that you know that is found in this layer. How would you describe it? Give yourself about 2 minutes for this, guys. Okay, guys, get your green pens out and let's see what you did. So you should have written down that it is dark. The understory layer, remember, is right down the bottom of the rainforest. It's the forest floor, and it's really dark down there because there's so much vegetation blocking out the sunlight. As I said, it's the forest floor. It's damp because obviously rainforest, it rains all day, every day. And so it's going to be very damp down there. And you can see here ferns. We looked at that in the previous lesson. These are the sort of shrub type vegetation you get there on the floor. Young shrubs again, so smaller bushes. Buttress roots. They're these big, wide sort of bases of trees to help them stand up, and it's dense. Okay, so let's have a look then at some features of our rainforest, and then we are going to look at how they have adapted, how they have changed in order to survive in this ecosystem. So the first one we're going to look at is the buttress roots of these trees, of these high trees. Remember the kapok trees, the ones that are really, really tall. So I want you to, first of all, just write down some notes for each of the adaptations we look at. All right then, so let's have a look at these buttress roots. So as we can see, they have a really wide base. So if we actually see them, if I can draw a quick picture of them, they kind of look like that. You know, so you get the trunk of the tree and then they spread out really wide down towards the bottom where their roots are. And that there helps them stand up when it's windy, and it prevents the trees falling down. So here you are, they've got a wide base so that the weight of the tree can be supported. They have a long lateral root system. You see, look, the roots here go across the surface of the ground instead of going deep in like we think roots do. So because the forest floor is dark, the soil quality is really poor. There's not much nutrients there. So the roots have to go out along the surface to try and suck up the small amount of nutrients. Next one here, we've got these leaves, beautiful leaves, lots of different types of leaves found in the rainforest. But look here, they're in this sort of shape here with a tip at the bottom. And we call these drip tips. Why do you think they're called drip tips? Yes, that's right. So because it rains all the time in rainforests, everything's going to be wet and it's going to be covered in water. So leaves have adapted to this shape to have a little tip at the end, a bit like a sort of a lip on a jug, to help the water that falls on it, and you can see the droplets here, to help the water move off of it and drip away. So here, let's have a look. 90% of all rainforest leaves have this drip tip. They also have a waxy coating. Now, if you know something's waxy, it's really quite slippery and smooth. So they have that so that the water can run off of it quite easily. It can run off the leaf quite easily. It doesn't get attached to it. And the tip here is a bit like a funnel. So it funnels the water off of the leaf, and it prevents it from being damaged, because in heavy rain the water can go on top of leaves and actually damage the leaves. So these are important adaptations, as without them the tree leaves would become heavy and the tree would be at risk of collapsing. So that's what's happened here. The leaves have adapted to cope with all the rain. Oh, here, this is great. If you remember what we were looking at when we looked at the forest structure, we get these really impressive vegetation here called lianas, and they are vines. You can see here, look, we've got Tarzan swinging on one of them through the rainforest, and that's what they are. They're just long vines, and they creep up trees, so they actually grow really, really high up trees, and they do this so that they can get to the light. So here, they're a type of what we call epiphyte, and that's a plant that can climb. Okay, an epiphyte is a plant that can climb up other things. And this means it can receive nutrients directly from the air and rainwater, so it doesn't actually have to have roots in the ground. There you are, it can climb up trees, and this is to reach the sunlight. It also has thorns and spikes. Okay, and this means that they can then grab on to whatever they're growing up. There you go. Okay, here's another one then, what we're talking about, the really tall trees, these kapok trees. These are the trees with the big buttress roots at the bottom. Okay. So these are the tallest trees in the rainforest, and they're known as kapok trees. They are very tall, they can reach 50 meters in height, and they have light, fluffy seeds. Now, why do you think they'd be light and fluffy? Well, yes. So when they are released from the tree, they can travel really, really far distances in the wind. They can be carried along by the wind. This means that they can be distributed during light winds. Okay, so here we go. So we've got lots of animals here, the fauna. So we've looked at some flora, the vines and the trees. So here are the fauna. Now, we've all seen these animals before, but each of these animals have adapted to live in a tropical rainforest. So we've got the first one there. Let's have a look. It's a howler monkey. Now, they are excellent climbers. So they have adapted to be able to climb up these tall trees. They're very agile. That means they can swing from tree to tree. And they've actually got a really, really loud howl. It's a bit menacing, actually, the howl, and it can be heard from 3 miles away. Let's have a listen. Now, yeah, that sounds very, very menacing indeed. It sounds almost like some kind of mythical monster. But that sound that they can project can be heard from 3 miles away. So that's a really good adaptation. Next one, we've got a macaw, which is the parrot that you can see there. It's got claws that can grip hold of branches, and it has really powerful beaks that can actually get into really hard nuts. Next one, my favourite, is the sloth. You know what they are. There they are. Wonderful things. They're very, very slow moving mammals. And they've got really long arms, which means they can hold on to branches. They're actually so slow that their fur becomes mouldy. They can actually grow mould on their fur. They go green. And that is also an adaptation of them using a sort of camouflage. Because they get really wet and they move so slowly, mould grows on them, and that in turn camouflages them from predators. And the last one there you can see is a jaguar. So they are a carnivore. That means they eat meat, they have sharp teeth and claws, and they are really, really fast to catch their prey. So there we go, we've got a range of fauna, flora that have adapted to live in this rainforest. All right, guys, so in front of you now, it might look a little bit daunting, but it really isn't that much for you to do. What I want you to do is have a look here. You've got 8 key terms, things we've looked at already, so they're all really familiar to you. On the other side, you've got A, B, C, D, E, all the way to H, and these are the definitions. What I want you to do is just number 1 to 8 on your page, and then next to it I want you to write the letter that goes with the key term. Okay, that's all you need to do. You don't need to write it out. So please give yourself 4 minutes for this and pause the video. Okay, so get your green pens out. Let's see how well you did. There we go. So you should have got 1C, 2B, 3A, 4D, 5H, 6F, 7G and 8E. Well done. All right, guys, here's the most important part of your lesson. This is where you need to spend the most time. So it is your extended writing. You have just had a guided tour by a local tour guide of the Amazon tropical rainforest biome. You need to write a postcard home describing and explaining how the plants and animals in a rainforest are adapted to their environment. So you're just writing everything that you've learned in today's lesson. Let's look at the success criteria. You need to write at least 2 plants and animals and then name them. You need to describe how they've adapted. Then you need to explain why and how. Then, for your challenge, you need to relate your explanations to specific data. So you need to give me some facts, some figures. So that means like temperatures, heights, amounts, speeds, whatever we've discussed. But also, to really challenge yourself, you can use some independent research. So go and look online and do some Googling about the tropical rainforest and the animals found there. Get some of your own information, and that will really help you show how well you understand this. Alright, so let's just have a look at an example. I know these examples help some, but for others, if you don't need this example, just get on with it really. So here we go then. So the highlight of the trip happened today. We were introduced to our rainforest guide, who led us through the Amazon forest. We saw a real-life epiphyte called a liana. This vine-like plant only relies on air and rainwater to survive. It attaches to the trees to climb up towards the light, which is not readily available, as only 2% passes through the canopy. We also walked amongst the buttress roots. They were giant. The real highlight was the wildlife, fauna. We looked towards the canopy and saw a very still sloth. This animal is one of the slowest on earth and has very long arms, which help it hang upside down whilst it feeds on leaves. The long arms help it to avoid predators by staying so high in the canopy. So, sounds really good, but let's see if it actually followed the success criteria. So first of all, they named some plants, they described the plant and how it adapts, and then they've explained the adaptations. They've used data, and they've named another plant. But here, for the buttress roots, they didn't say anything more. They just said it was giant. So that's not really good enough. Next paragraph. They named an animal, they described the animal, and they explained how it's adapted. And again, just down there, it's explained a bit more of adaptations. So overall, yeah, it's really good. It's got detailed description and explanation of the liana, including specific data. The sloth is described and the adaptations were explained, but it doesn't fully meet the success criteria, as the buttress roots are named briefly, and they're briefly described, but they weren't explained, and the second animal adaptation is not provided. So they didn't meet the success criteria. Now, like I said, if you really want to challenge yourself, then you need to do some independent research. Get on Google, get on whatever, and actually look up some more information to help extend your writing. Okay, guys, good luck. See you next time.